Good morning, and thank you for joining this online virtual service of the First Unitarian Church of Alton on the 30th day of August in 2020. I'm Robin Berkeley, and I'm doing double duty today as the worship associate and featured speaker for today's service. We are a small but mighty lay-led congregation located in Alton, Illinois. Due to the pandemic, our virtual services are located online on our church YouTube page. However, we welcome you and hope to see you at our Castle on the Hill sometime soon when we can return to worship together. In the meantime, we welcome everyone to this home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. We begin our service with a prelude If you have a candle nearby, please join me as I light my own and recite our unison words for the chalice lighting. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Our opening prayer was written by Cynthia Landrum. Spirit of life and love, we gather together in differing ways this morning. From computer screens, from telephones, from car radios, we gather reaching out across the wires, waving from a safe distance. We come together in a religious community from living room to front porch to car seat. We gather as we are able, ready to be of service to each other, to the world, ready to build the community of hope and of love. As we face this bright morning, we are apart, but we are together, offering our love, our commitment, our hope, and our prayers in service to one another and this world. It is a new way, but an old way, that we can come together in worship today. more than the sum of our parts. We carry with us the joys and sorrows of our days. We gather together, even virtually, to experience the warmth of community. You may choose to sit in reflection right where you are. You may choose to share your thoughts, joys, and concerns on the YouTube page or even in our private group, UU Friends on Facebook. We also welcome you to join us at our virtual coffee hour after the service to share conversation and receive support if you need to connect with others. Please take a few minutes to reflect on your joys and sorrows and send out strength and love to those who need it at this time. Our reading today is an excerpt from the book titled "We Want to Do More Than Survive: Abolitionist Teaching and the Pursuit of Educational Freedom," which is written by Bettina Love. I'm going to be reading this from the perspective of Bettina, who is African American. So as I discuss certain things, understand that I'm speaking in her voice. What do we want? What is the thing we are after? We want to be Americans, full-fledged Americans, with all the rights of other American citizens. But is that all? Do we want simply to be Americans? Once in a while, through all of us, there flashes some clairvoyance, some clear idea of what America really is. We who are dark can see America in a way that white Americans cannot. And seeing our country thus, are we satisfied with its present goals and ideals? These are the words of W.E.B. Du Bois. Bettina Love goes on to say, we who are dark, we who are dark, we who are dark. When I read Du Bois's words for the first time, they seem to lift right off the page as if they were meant expressly for me. Du Bois's indictment of America is plain and simple, yet at the same time shattering because we as dark people see, which white Americans cannot, a country with enough promise to capture and hold 400 years of freedom dreams while systematically attacking, reducing, and or destroying each and every aspiration. So what do we want, knowing what we know? What is the thing we are after? Although no one person is equipped or has the right to speak for millions, particularly on the issues of race and racism, there is one thing that I know with everything I am. We who are dark want to matter and live, not just to survive, but to thrive. Matter not for recognition or acknowledgement, but to create new systems and structures for educational, political, economic, and community freedom. It would mean we matter enough that our citizenship and the rights that come with it are never questioned, reduced, or taken away, regardless of our birthplace or the amount of melanin in our skin. Mattering, citizenship, community sovereignty, and humanity go hand in hand with the ideas of democracy, liberty, and justice for all, which are the unalienable rights needed to thrive. Our story for all ages today is called The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older. And the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples." "Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk, swing from my branches and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" I have no house, said the tree. The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you'll be happy. So the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. Come, boy, she whispered, come and play. I'm too old and sad to play, said the boy. I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat? Cut down my trunk and make a boat, said the tree. Then you can sail away and be happy. So the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. I am sorry, boy, said the tree, but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples, said the boy. My branches are gone, said the tree. You cannot swing on them. I'm too old to swing on branches, said the boy. My trunk is gone, said the boy. You cannot climb. I'm too tired to climb, said the boy. I'm sorry, sighed the tree. I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I'm just an old stump. I am sorry. I don't need very much now, said the boy. Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I'm very tired. Well, said the tree, straightening himself up as much as she could. Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down and rest. And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end. So for today's message, I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of different things, and largely I want to get at the issue of racism and anti-racist behaviors. August is the creativity month, right? And that's the theme of the month. But instead of me talking about creativity, what I really wanted to do is sort of reimagine the messages that are coming from the Giving Tree and think about the Giving Tree in a different light. Largely, we have thought of the Giving Tree as this wonderful homage to what it means to give altruistically, to give without question, to love unconditionally. But I'm going to challenge you to think about it a little bit differently. Specifically, that the Giving Tree is probably giving more than it could or should be giving, and that the boy is taking and not giving back. So why am I thinking about this? Well, obviously the events from the last few weeks have been challenging at best regarding issues of race and racism. Kenosha is really just the latest in a whole series of problems that we have experienced as a country for the last 400 years, more, whenever, our first, probably 400 years. Since slave trade started bringing people here to the United States, well, to the New World at that time, the United States now. So it's 400 years of harm that has been done to the Black community. And as I was thinking about the story that I wanted to share for today's sermon, I think the Giving Tree was one that really leapt out at me, less so about the fact that, it's giving and loving and it's wonderful, but that we have let the Black community do a lot of the physical labor and emotional labor and intellectual labor to enlighten us as a community about what it means to live as someone who's Black in the United States today. As W.E.B. Du Bois said in our reading today, it's about more than just being an American, but it's about thriving and what does it take to thrive? And that's what they've been trying to tell us for 400 years, that they want more and that they haven't gotten more, that they're not thriving, and that they are suffering and struggling, largely because of white people. And you might say, oh, I'm not a racist. And no one is consciously, or at least few people I know are consciously racist. I do know people who are racist. And I used to think that that was the minority, and I'm not so confident of that anymore. And this is tough stuff to talk about, largely because it is a little heavy, and I apologize for it being heavy, but I think it needs to be heavy for us to really examine and think about what it means to be anti-racist. That it's not enough to say, I'm not racist, that we actually have to be anti-racist. So let me push you to my thoughts about the giving tree and how it relates to this particular issue on the Black community. I think that the giving tree is the Black community. I think the giving tree has consistently tried to give us what we wanted and what we needed. They have protested the way we've wanted them to protest. They have behaved the way we want them to behave. They have spoken up only the way that we want them to speak up. But what they've been continually telling us is that's just not enough, that they're not thriving, that they're hurting, both within their community and how their community interacts and interrelates to other communities, right? So a lot of the racist tropes out there are, well, what about Black on Black crime? And you're right, there is Black on Black crime. There's white on white crime too, but there's also Black on Black crime. There's Latino on Black crime. There's Black crime on Latinos, Latino on white, white Latino. I can go on about this. We know that crime exists, period. It exists. So Black on Black crime, though, as I say, the struggling that comes from within is often about scarce resources or a lack of opportunity or a sadness about not having really anything to look forward to, that there's institutional racism weighing down on folks and their inability to lift themselves out of that because we keep reinforcing a system that does this to people. And I believe that we as white people are the little boy who consistently takes and takes and takes. And while I might say, I'm not racist, I have mixed race kids, I was married to a Black man, I have Black people in my family, in reality, I take because I've had to have them teach me what it's like to not have power and not have privilege. And I've looked to them to learn, and I realize that that's a drain, and it's a horrible drain of people expecting others. I'm expecting Black folks to tell me what it's like to be in their pain and be in their suffering. And I'm not listening to them, and I'm not doing the work if I'm expecting them to do all the work to tell me what's going on, why it's hard, trying to walk in their shoes. That's my responsibility. It's not their responsibility to help me to learn. It's my responsibility to do the work, to learn on my own, to learn what it's like to walk in someone's shoes who doesn't look like me, who doesn't experience the world as I do. And I think a little bit about how exhausting it must be, the emotional labor, the intellectual labor that it takes to be able to live in Black skin every single day. I've seen my ex-husband experience stuff, and that was enlightening for me, but the burden was still on them, telling me, teaching me, so that I could understand, because I was young and naive. And now, at my age, I realize it's not their responsibility to educate me, that it's my responsibility to educate myself and to stop what's going on. You know, racism ends with me, that I am the source of the problem, and therefore I am the solution to the problem. And it is exhausting. I'm sure. I know it's exhausting. I'm exhausted living in this pandemic and this heaviness that comes from being disconnected from people. And yet you see people like Michelle Obama, who we venerate as a wonderful leader and as a role model. And she tells us how exhausted she is, how depressed she is. You know, a friend of mine said, Black people are not okay. And they're not. This is weighing on them. We feel it, but imagine the weight for them 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times heavier, because we don't live in that skin. We don't walk in the world in the same way that they do. You know, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, we see the world very differently than Black people do. And all they want to do is thrive. They want to grow and evolve and to be without threat. And that's still not possible in many parts of our country, many parts of the world, for that matter. So you see the weight that it weighs on, you know, someone like Michelle Obama, and who we hold up as a strong role model. And if she's suffering, you know that the rest of us are suffering, and you know that the rest of the Black communities are suffering under the weight of this oppression that we as white people have contributed to. And again, I'm not talking about you are at fault and you're at fault and I'm at fault. We have all benefited from this system, and we have to dismantle it one way or the other. We have to start pointing out where we think that there's issues of racism, you know, in society. So what does it mean to then be anti-racist? Because we do very well being against racism, I think, in the Unitarian Church. But I'm going to call us to do more. And I'm going to call us to be anti-racist, actively anti-racist, because there is no in between. You're either reinforcing the system or you are fighting against the system that creates racism. And I had the great fortune to read Ibram Kendi's book. Most of it, I haven't finished it yet, but it has been a delight to read and an eye-opening experience for me, because it is an outstanding book talking about what it means to be not just against racism, but to be anti-racist in your behaviors and in your thoughts and in your actions and in your ideas. It's easy for us to say, well, I'm not racist because I have Black friends, you know, and I would never hurt anybody. But there is no neutrality when it comes to racism. We have to make a decision to actively fight against racism, and we have to actively decide that it's time for a change. And we have to actively call out racism when we see it. That doesn't mean every single time you see a post or a comment on, you know, a news article, you know, that you leap in and go, you know, that's a racist comment, because you know what? It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not. Social media is real easy for people to be flippant and to be abrupt and to be caustic in their approach to things, whether it's being racist or even being anti-racist. It's easy to do because we hide behind the social media screen, the anonymity of just a name and a post. And it can get exhausting, right? Trying to have the uphill battle on social media, which is normally filled with just sound bites and words that don't always mean what we want them to mean, or certainly aren't interpreted the way we want them to be interpreted. So the hard work is when we're sitting with family and we're sitting with friends and people that we care about and we are invested in. I'm not invested in the commenter on a column under the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'm not invested, and I'm not going to invest. And I will invest to an extent with people who are acquaintances and challenge them. But I call us to challenge each other and challenge our assumptions and challenge our friends and challenge our family to speak up and say what we need to say, and how to actively be against racism. It's about calling it out. It's about checking our own assumptions. It's about recognizing when we're making a racist assumption about something that really shouldn't be. For example, Black people make better athletes, or Black people should do this. That's racist, because you're making an assumption about a group of people that may or may not hold. It's like when we say, oh, all Asian people are so smart, they should be good at math. Well, that's a stereotype, and they're not all good at math. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So that's racist behavior, even if we don't intend it to be that way. So it is important for us to recognize when we're making those sorts of assumptions about people and calling it out. My challenge with books like White Fragility, which becomes sort of the thing that everybody is, the du jour book that everybody seems to be latching onto and saying, wow, this is a great book, and it's about why we can't talk to white people about it and why white people are so fragile about it. But here's the thing, this goes back to my point. White fragility, right, is the little boy in the Giving Tree story. White fragility is taking the voices of Black people that they've been telling us for 400 years that this is not okay, that they are not okay, that they want to thrive. And a white person is sharing the story and capitalizing on it. She is the one making the money. She is putting it in her pocket, and she's using the voices and the words of Black people to be able to do that. And that's the Giving Tree and the negative side of the Giving Tree. We are taking. There's a difference between, that's the dog. There's a difference between being an ally and Coco. Shh. Hey. There's a difference between being an ally and working really hard to lift others up. And then there is the difference is against what it means to center ourselves and make ourselves at the center of the fight. And white people have to dismantle racism, but we have to be listening to Black people. And we have to be more than just an ally sitting back and saying, I have Black friends and I give to charities and I love my Black neighbors and I have Black kids and I have, my family's, got Black people in it. And it has to be more than that. It has to be actively anti-racist, calling people out. That's how we are an ally, calling people out when we see those behaviors. I don't want to be the little boy in the Giving Tree. I want to be able to let the Giving Tree thrive and to stop taking from the Giving Tree and actually giving back to the Giving Tree. I want to water the Giving Tree. I want to prune the living tree, the Giving Tree. I want the Giving Tree to thrive and to be successful. And the only way we can do that is by dismantling racism ourselves, by being actively anti-racist. And the only way we can do that is by self-examination, by honoring our roots as Unitarian Universalists. And if we look at our 7 principles, right, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we believe in this. We actively believe in this. We actively work to support communities. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We can be anti-racist here. Acceptance of one another and encouragement of spiritual growth. Free and responsible search for truth and meaning. The right of conscience and the use of the democratic process. the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And then, of course, the 8th principle, which I don't have in front of me, but that actively deals with issues of racism and racial justice, which, of course, hasn't passed yet, but I know we're working towards that. So I think as Unitarians, we are uniquely positioned to be anti-racist, not just to be allies, but to actively be anti-racist. And I hope all of you, as you think about the giving tree, think about what you can give back to the tree and not continue to take from that tree. To not center ourselves in the argument of what it means to be racist or anti-racist, but to call it out amongst the people that really matter to us, our friends, our neighbors, the people that we work with. You know, when we hear racist behaviors, to challenge it delicately, gently, kindly, but to challenge it. And to continue to fight the good fight. Hope you have a great day. We offer the gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. We need each other, and in times of trial, we need each other even more. You can mail your gift to First Unitarian Church, Post Office Box 494, Alton, Illinois, 62002, or you can give electronically by searching for First Unitarian Church of Alton on the Givelify app or via the link on our webpage. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. If you know it, please join with me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. I hope that this time of reflection was fruitful for you. Perhaps you will share the fruits of your labor with someone significant to you. Also, I invite you to post your thoughts in the comments of this video. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're here. Here are our announcements for the week. Please contact the church office if you have an event or an announcement that you would like us to share via our weekly Church This Week email. If you're interested in receiving our weekly email, please send your contact details to church@firstuualton.org. And remember to join us next week for our virtual service here on YouTube. Lastly, Ingathering is coming. Look for information on our Facebook page, on UU Friends, our private group for members and friends, and in emails from the worship associates. We need your help to make the service complete. So here is a message from Eric Johnson. In 1858, President Lincoln debated his political rival, Stephen Douglas, in Alton, Illinois. During the debate, Lincoln made the point that the immediate abolition of slavery was not just a political issue, but also a spiritual one as well. The Unitarian Church in Alton, along with a handful of other congregations, had withdrawn from the Western Conference of Churches over the issue because the First Unitarian Church of Alton was going to preach abolition from the pulpit. They would not be silent. Eric is a worship associate at this very church, at the First Unitarian Church of Alton, a 184-year-old congregation. We all are. Each fall, we've begun our year with a very special service called Ingathering. We'd like to invite you to that service, to Ingathering, a virtual Ingathering online, Sunday, September 13th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, so that no matter where you are in the world, you can join us safely. Not only that, but we'd like you to participate, and it's actually really easy. Send to the address below a picture of you lighting a chalice or a candle or a tea light or even a battery-operated candle, and even turning on a light in your house somewhere. Kitchen light, your dining room light, your chandelier. You can include yourself and your family or just take a picture of the light itself. These are going to be put in a collage at the beginning of our service. Then, if you have the ability, please take a short 3-second video of yourself and your family saying the words, love, light, and grace. These will bless us as we end our service. Just send it to the link that will be provided for you. These will bless us as we end our service. Just send it to the link. We love to have you join us this year. It's important. It's maybe as important as it was in 1858 to not be silent about what is happening in our nation, to gather as a religious community, to be a community that seeks justice, stands on the side of love, and holds each other in fellowship and support. I just don't know that there has ever been a more important time to come together. We welcome all faiths and those who are seeking or even feel that they have no faith. Come to Ingathering with us. Feel the strength of solidarity. We hope to see you Sunday, September 13th at 10 o'clock. Love, light, and grace. Now, if you have a lit chalice or candle near you, I invite you to join me in extinguishing the chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. Our closing words are by Cheryl Block. As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. Amen, and blessed be. Have a wonderful week.